Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast. I'm your host, Mark. It's just the gruesome twosome today, so it'll be me joined by my transatlantic cousin. His beloved dear leader wants Greenland, but all I want is an 8 that's battle ready and can perform offensive and defensive duties. But he's here anyway to give his opinion on Man City, Stoke, Southampton, and everything else. Mike, how are we doing?
If you're going to talk to me about the next conquest in our imperialistic tirade, then you might as well call it by its proper name. It's pronounced red, white, and blue land for your context. But no, I'm great. It's great to be talking to you after 3 point. Well, not 3 points, but a great win. And I'm really, really stoked, if you will, to be speaking with you today, Mark.
That was masterfully done. I do appreciate a good pun, having recently become a dad, and I feel like my life purpose is to try and protect this small being I've brought in, but just to irritate my wife with as many bad jokes as possible. So there's that. But we are going to start with a little bit of a downer. We some of you may have noticed, our regular listeners, that we sort of tactfully skipped the Man City almost inevitable loss at this point, but we will touch on it. We should touch on it. It did happen. Um, Full disclosure, guys, and I know this is gonna paint me in a pretty poor light compared to some of our fans. Very fair indeed. But Man City's just the one that I don't really feel like watching. I am delusionally optimistic about anyone else. Arsenal, Chelsea, Anfield away. I say, oh, on our day, Fulham can do something. We might surprise people. We don't even have to go for the draw. We might get a win. But when it's the Etihad, when it's the Pep squad, I don't know, man. It's 0 and 20. 20 times in a row they've beaten us. Yes, we can talk about, Club 116. We can talk about what they spend and stuff like that, but he just has our number. Tell me how you were feeling, Mike, when you saw this inevitable match come to light. Were you hopeful? Did you think maybe we could do something after the 5-4 at home, or were you just writing it off like I did?
Well, my first question to you, Mark, was actually going to be who was crying more after that match? Was it you or the little one? But I mean, at the end of the day, like for me, it's the hope that kills you. I always think one time we're going to get through it. I still think about the match where Adama should have broken this out for us. Pep even gave him shooting lessons afterwards, and he still couldn't figure it out. Um, I'd kind of reserved myself to the fact that we probably weren't going to get anything out of it. I think the one thing that disappoints me is, look, that's three on the bounce that we've lost. We probably should have gotten more out of Everton. We probably should have gotten more out of United. And then Man City is just the icing on the horrendously smelling cake that probably existed after that. So, yeah, it wasn't something I was really looking forward to. I'll be just as bad as you. Unfortunately, for a work trip, I was on the other side of the US. And so I was doing work related things during that time. But I will tell you that I let out a small, loud swear word in front of everybody after the second goal went in. And yeah, that's it was just confirmation bias at that point.
I mean, we won't cover it in too much detail because it was apparently just a pounding for the first half and then a bit of a damp squib for a second half. I will say though, and I know that stats aren't, they don't tell the whole story, but stats wise, when I looked after it, looked after the match, after the fact, we didn't look too bad possession wise, shots on target, even XG. Yes, clearly Man City were better, but the stats seem to paint us a bit more even. It did feel like they were rather clinical, but I mean, when you spend that amount of money on a team, you're gonna get clinical wingers, clinical midfielders, clinical strikers. It's something I wish we had, but yeah, I mean, 3-0 I guess feels fair. It just feels like such a standard Fulham Man City result, if not 4-1 or something like that. But do you have any closing comments, any players that caught your eye, or anything you want to mention about Man City before we swiftly and quickly move on to Stoke?
I think one thing that the Man City match does kind of show for me, and look, it's great to see Bassi back in the lineup. As much as I beat the drum for Cuenca, it is great to like get Bassi well integrated back into the system. I think Cuenca's been really, really good. I think he's gotten a little extra flack than he probably should have gotten so far. I actually don't think he's put many feet wrong. Um, what I will say, and it just kind of bothers me, and this will lead us into the Stoke game a little bit. In a game against a team like Man City, we can't just walk the ball into the net. And it means we need to be more ambitious in some of the shots that we take. we
Mhm.
clearly don't have people who like to shoot outside of the box for one reason or another. And yet, when we see ESR rip one against Manchester United, we know he's capable of doing it. We know Kevin's capable of hitting them. We know that Wilson's capable of hitting them. And I just wish we'd have a couple more pops and be a little more ambitious in a match like that, because the worst that happens is Donnarumma's human. He spills something and we poach a goal somewhere in there. We find something and nick something small. I really just wish we'd go a little more pedal to the metal, but that's a me thing.
Yeah, no, directness. I can understand that, man. I will just go on a whole rant if we start talking about directness and grit and spirit and stuff like that. So we won't. We're going to park that for another time. But we will swiftly move on to Stoke, a much more fun conversation. Basically, football heritage at this point. Can they do it on a rainy day at Stoke? Well, it seems like we did do it. An interesting lineup. A lineup that TNT Sports said perhaps was disrespectful. Disrespectful of the cup, disrespectful of the opposition. Both, neither. Mike, I leave it up to you. 10 changes. Any surprises? And was it or was it not disrespectful?
I don't think it was disrespectful in all transparency. I was really excited to see this lineup generally. Yes, there was one or two that I was not super excited to see, but I think it's a testament to the depth that we've built kind of sneakily, honestly, over the last couple seasons. The fact that, say what you will about Issa Diop and my irrational hatred of him. He is definitely a Premier League fourth choice center back, and that was good enough. So I thought that was really good to see. I think the ones that surprised me the most, obviously, Iwobi was going to have to play with TC being injured, although I would have loved to see him in that game. Robinson starting candidly surprised me. With how off the pace he's looked the last couple of matches, I assumed that there was an injury going on. But for him to play, and I believe play the full 90, really surprised me and caught me off guard a little bit pleasantly. And I didn't think he was really that bad in the game. He was doing some inventive things, and I was curious to see, because I've been of the mind that he and Kevin can't really play together based on the spaces they occupy. It was really interesting to see both of them. And then obviously getting to see some of the boys that are either coming back from injury or just coming back around, getting to see Rodrigo play and start, getting to see a little more of Oscar Bob, I think it was really, really good. Getting to see King back in the lineup was really, really great. So overall, I actually wasn't too fussed about this. I think it was more a testament to our depth than anything else. The only thing I will say is I was just surprised not to see Chukwueze on the bench at all. He must be, actually appropriately dealing with personal stuff.
Yeah, that's right. For those of you who may not know, I believe his mother has recently passed away, I think in Italy. And, obviously we give our well wishes to him, and, family first always. So all the time he needs to sort of recover, and hopefully the other Niger boys can sort of put an arm around him and support him, and the rest of the club as well for that matter, and be understanding during this time. I think I agree with you. I don't think it's disrespectful to the cup or the opposition really, because like you said, it's not like we just randomly rocked up and said, okay, here, have half of our under 21s and we'll see what we can do. We put out a team.
We didn't start Ridgen. We didn't start
exactly.
Ridgen. It wasn't like a Pajazidi came out of nowhere and came back in. Like, no, these are real players.
Yeah, 100%. And some of them are competing for starting spots. Cuenca was I mean, yes, Batty has just edged him out, but I'm perfectly happy to have Cuenca there. Diop is a capable deputy. Bob and I see you disagreeing with me there. Bob and Kevin, obviously, they're kind of our future, or our far future. We'll see. So I think it was a good team.
Josh King started the season for us.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Speaking of the future,
and we will talk about him, because I have some comments on him, mostly positive, but we have some. But I did want to take the time to agree with you on Robinson. I think he looked good. I think this built his confidence, built his fitness. He looked pretty sharp, and he did coordinate decently well with Kevin, because they both love the overlap on the left-hand side. But this time, Robbo actually cut in, which was a little surprising. He did that once, and they had a bit more communication going about them. And I'm really excited about that, because the amount of pace that brings is going to be utterly terrifying to maybe a bit more of an aging right back when we play the opposition. But overall, happy with the lineup. I
just want to point out one more thing on the lineup. With the exception Oscar Bob, I think everybody in this lineup, sorry, Reed as well. So with the exception of Reed and
Hmm.
Bob, everybody in this lineup has started a Premier League game this season, and Lecomte, but he's never gonna like. So 8 out of 11 started a Premier League match this season. I don't really understand how this disrespectful thing came out of here.
Yeah, maybe it was the amount of rotation rather than looking at the personnel. It feels like a bit of a silly comment, if we're going to be fair. It feels like a comment someone would
It
make just
feels
like
like people
glancing
who
at the
don't
paper.
watch Fulham. It feels
Yeah,
like people who don't watch Fulham making comments.
unusually so. But yes, yeah, agreed. But having gotten into that, I do agree with Marco's post-match comments. I know we're jumping around a little bit, but first half relatively comfortable. That's what you'd expect. You'd expect us to dominate the ball, have the majority of the chances. I don't know how much, and I want your take on this as well. I don't know how much is the word I'm looking for versatility. I think it's variety. Variety. We had an attack. It still very much felt like get the ball to Robbo and Kevin. Let's try and dink it across. Some were dangerous, but for me, still an element of predictability. And once again, I'm not trying to be overly negative here, but perhaps, like I said, predictability and papering over the cracks. The commentators are saying, "Oh, it's working, it's working." They're putting the balls in dangerous areas. Yes, against Stoke. Is that really going to work against Arsenal or Chelsea or whoever else you want to put out there? Probably less so. But yeah, what did you think about our style of play? Was it pretty much what you expected to see? Did you want to see something different?
So I actually kind of I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm disagreeing with Marco here. So first of all, I did think our approach was really predictable, which was really disappointing. We just kind of kept chucking balls in there, which again we've done, and we were working in some really interesting positions. We saw some backside cutbacks that were coming through, and I thought that was really interesting. But and again, this is a fully American perspective. I know like two things about Stoke. Number one is that it's always a cold, wet, windy day whenever you play there. It just doesn't matter when it is. And number two is these guys are essentially a bunch of ogres. Like they are huge. And so when you look at
Mm-hmm.
that back line, and the smallest person on that back line is 6 feet tall, love Rodrigo. Rodrigo's not going to beat a guy who's 6'5" in the air. I'm sorry, it's just not really happening. So I was a little disappointed with that, and I actually thought the good thing about it was that it gave more room on that overlap for Kevin to cut the ball back a little bit, whether it was to Robinson for a deeper cross or for him to kind of cut it back into somebody running in, like Iwobi, for example. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have to disagree with Marco. I was pretty disappointed in the first half, personally. Not just because we were predictable, but because we were dominant and we weren't finishing. And it leads to us getting hit on a break. I don't know how we are more dangerous to concede a goal from our own corner, it feels like, than somebody else's. But on top of that, to make matters worse, I counted at least three, maybe four, that we probably should have scored in that half. And I'm thinking about the Iwobi header. I'm thinking
Yep.
about Kevin right at the end of the half. The
Yep.
keeper made a phenomenal save on another one that he cut in and took a shot at. But I was actually pretty disappointed to be down going into half. I thought it should at least have been 2-1, if not potentially maybe more.
Absolutely right. And this seems to be our story, right? I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really wish we could emulate what Brighton did against, I believe it was Oxford United. I don't know if it was Bristol City after that, but they basically had two 5-0 cup games. Comfortable, enjoyable. You're sort of there. You're soaking in the atmosphere. You comfortably won. Like it's just very easy and nice. We always seem to want to give our opposition a fair shot at winning against us. So we'll score one and then you can score one, or you'll score first and then we'll like struggle to get something across the line, or we'll limp over with a 1-0. I feel like we're overly not generous or respectful, but I just wish we had a bit more of that killer instinct, that clinicalness about us, and we don't. And yes, you know what? Their keeper did make some good saves, but you're right. It was a breakaway. This is. I'm trying not to be churlish here. You got to tell me if you think Lecomte should have done better or not. I know it was struck hard and struck fast, but it was
I don't
more the
put that at
build-up
all in
that impressed
Lecomte.
me.
Yeah,
No,
I
you
don't put
think?
that at all in Lecomte. I think Castagna's totally out of position there. Diop needs to step into the path of the attacker.
Yeah.
There's a reason that is the right side of nightmares for me. It's two out of my five most irrationally annoying players that we have that just irk me. I was pretty disappointed in that across the board. The other thing, though, going back to your comment on the style of play, this isn't the first time, and I always get this bad feeling whenever I watch Fulham that if we don't put a team away early, it doesn't matter how dominant we are, that we're going to be in for problems. And I have recent trauma with this with the Everton match where Everton, we should have been up probably 3-0 going into the half. And we didn't kill the game. We go in 1-0 and we lose 2-1. And there's this weird realm from about probably the 40th to about the 55th minute where Fulham just decide, hey, we're not going to do anything. We're going to let you tucker yourselves out. We're going to let you attack us as much as you want. We're going to absorb this pressure. And again, we're not up 5-0. You can't do that. We need to be on the front foot more. And we need to have that killer instinct. And as we were talking about before, be a little more direct. And I thought the game before Kevin scores, and we'll come on to that, was crying out for a Wilson to come in and do something a little more direct. Was crying out for a little deft touch from somebody like Raul. I didn't know where it was going to. Even an ESR coming in and making these bombing attacking runs.
Mm-hmm.
It needed something, a TC to come in, and again, I know he was injured, to unlock and pick out a pass. We weren't ruthless, and when we finally got shots on target, we started taking advantage of this. But they rode their luck in the first half, and we should have been up several goals going into the half, in my opinion.
So, follow-up question: is this on the players? Is this the execution of the plan is just off and they should be scoring those chances? Or is this a little bit on Marco? Doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be a mix of both. But for me, it feels like, my opinion, sometimes we do like to sort of pass from side to side, lay off the ball. There's a moment where, I know it would be speculative, but from outside the box, feels like Castagna could leather it, at least test the goalkeeper. Once again, we lay it off. I think, in my opinion, Marco seems to really like these high XG chances that come from crosses and utilizing the wings, then those shots from outside the box. But what's your take on it, Mike?
I think it's a little column A, little column B, and I'm not going to be beige here. I'll walk you through as to why. I think there's a piece of it where it is Marco, talking about, hey, these are the set pieces of plays that we want to do. These are the tactics that we, really execute on well. This is where we have our best XG for the plays that we make. And there's clearly something to that, as Robinson last year was the second assist leader in the Premier League or something, or third assist leader. Like, okay, cool. Like there's something good that comes from that. I'm also curious, and Mark, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I feel like this is something also with our buying strategy of the players that we bring in, because we're bringing in these players from top clubs who are playing in these systems that are now navigated by the Artetas and Peps of the world, who want to literally walk the ball in. And so they're not prepared to take a long shot, to be a little more direct, to play with players who aren't inherently the best on the field, that can just keep the ball and work whatever pattern that they want for however they're long in the game. And again, nobody directly, but you think about Oscar Bob just coming over from Man City, and this is a different style of play and a different thing that he needs to do. You think about an ESR, and again, I just mentioned it. How often is he popping a shot? Again, that was pretty wild to see it. I have to think that there's something that is an adapting period for them, coming to a club like Fulham, where, hey, if you want to be the guy, go ahead and take the shot, go get the win, go be Harrison Reed and take a pop. Although please don't take one like Harrison Reed does like every time now. But point being, go for the shot. I just don't think that's something that's ingrained in the players right now, especially from where we're buying from.
Oh, 100% agree. We don't just need to leave it to TC to like wind up for 3 seconds before letting it loose with his, wonderful left foot, or Harry Wilson for that matter. But yeah, I wouldn't mind us being a bit more direct. And I think, going on a little bit of a fun tangent here, but this is what Grealish has done. Grealish, amazing at Villa, sort of gets all that coached out of him, stops being the main man when he goes to Man City. He just becomes yet another chess piece to be sat on the bench for Pep. And now he's come out to Everton. Yes, he's sort of finished his season by being injured. But before that, he was given the license to be himself again, to express himself. And I think that really brought out the best in him, where he was given that extra level of independence and creativity. And And sort of a comment related to what we were talking about earlier from Gabriel Moyes. He says, "Did you guys see Oscar Bob being a bit negative in the match? Felt like whenever Castagna or King made the wrong decision, Bob would look visibly upset, i.e., head in his hands." I think it must be tricky for Bob, right? New teammates, probably, well, not probably, definitely not at the level that he's sort of worked with before at City. And I think things will get better. I think they'll communicate better. They'll know how each other thinks and how each other plays, and they'll get used to each other. But it is a big change, and once again, he's going to have to prove himself. I'm sure he's excited to take on the challenge. But what I did like about Bob that I saw is the lad is skilled. The lad is so skilled. The one bit I remember is he's got two Stoke players on him. Yes, they're championship players, whatever. But he has two players on him, harassing him, trying to get the ball off of him. He's not only holding them off and driving the ball forward, he's looking around intelligently. Right, where are people? Where's Castagna? Where's King? King gets into position 3 seconds later. Bob lays it off perfectly. For me, that's incredible. I know he probably wouldn't be able to do it against two Prem players. Maybe the physicality is different, the skill is different, but the fact that he has that maturity in his youth and the skill and the ability and the foresight to look up, where's King? Not ready yet. Hold on for another 3 seconds. Okay, I'm going to do a trick and I'm going to lay it off. Beautiful. Did you catch that as well?
So I caught that one. The one that actually stands out to me is he was in the box and had two guys on him, and he does a quick inside-outside shuffle, and he gave himself the opportunity to put in a shot on goal. It obviously wasn't scored. I think the keeper parried it and made a really, really nice save. But I like the fact that he doesn't seem to be afraid to take people on. I wish he'd shoot a little bit more, but I like that he wasn't afraid to take people on, to hold up the ball, to look for an option. And in Oscar Bob's defense, Gabriel, I got to say, I'm headed my hands every time I see Timothy Castagna on the ball. I still remember, what was it? He had a run down the backside that he blasted, I think, outside of the grounds. I mean, give him some more time with Tete, and I'm sure his head will come up, and he will have tears of joy, not tears of regret and sorrow, and thinking about what he did last night.
Very fair. Now let's swiftly move on to the second half, where it was a lot more positive from us. You're right. There were a couple of chances from Kevin. Some great, some less great. But he's a trier. He keeps trying. He keeps working hard. I'm happy he got the goal. I think he needs it because he is someone that feels like he very much wears his heart on his sleeves, right? He's very expressive. And then, you know, when King is talking to him just as the halftime whistle blows, "Hey, man, you should have laid it off to me," probably would have been a tap in. He looks a bit despondent, but he gets his goal. Lovely bit of skill. I don't even know if it's an intentional 1-2. He lays it off to Muniz, who, I don't know if it's him or the defender, but it sort of weakly heads back to him, then places it beautifully in the corner of the net. He needs to place it because I do think that Stoke goalkeeper, I think he was England's under-21 keeper or something like that. He's decent. He's a decent shot stopper. He made some good saves as well. But really, really happy to see him get that goal. Happy to see the team support him, go around him. What are we thinking? Are we thinking this is our cup guy, or are we hoping that, with time, with confidence, with a bit more nous, he could maybe elbow his way into the first team in the Prem?
So I'll kind of jump to the end. I thought Kevin was man of the match, and I don't think it was particularly close, candidly. I thought everything that we did that went down through him was electric. Whether he was missing his chances or not, I think there's going to be opportunities for him to improve. Right now, I jokingly call him Adama 2.0, not because he's necessarily the biggest, strongest lad in the world, but he's able to take people on. He's able to drive at teams. He doesn't have the best decision making, but he can play. He can really play. And it was good to see, and yes, albeit against a championship team, he was running the show, but the physicality, and we've talked about this a couple times with him in the past, can get to him at times. He seemed to be perfectly with it. You saw him holding up the ball in different places. You saw him taking players on, being creative. I was super excited to see that. I maintain that I think his role for this season is he's our cup guy for a little bit, / he's a great option off the bench. Like, I really enjoy seeing him off the bench. And again, he makes a great run, does all of the work there. I do think it comes off the defender, but I do like his thought process of trying to play that with Muniz. And I think that there's a little bit of a connection that's starting to form there. We obviously saw it as well in the post-match presser as well. That they were able to play well together, and that made me really, really excited for the future. So hats off to him. I thought he did fantastically throughout the game. I thought he was our best, most creative, bright spot player. I hope that kicks him on for confidence. And yeah, that finish was really, really solid and left no doubt there. I think that's the thing that we're starting to notice is he likes that far post a little bit, whether it's up high or down low.
Very true. And just to balance your American optimism, someone who hasn't been able to finish at least that match, we got to talk about King. I like King. I love King, actually. I don't want us to sell him at all, given the ceiling I think he has. Humble guy, amazing for someone who's not media trained, very skillful, high ceiling, like I said. Just wasn't his night, though. I think he forgot his shooting boots at home because he was, I would say, quite direct. And directness, I believe, won us this match. It just wasn't coming off for him, was it?
I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid. Like, we talk about this with Kusei Asari as well, but like, I understand he's our star boy and all that great stuff, but he's 19. And I thought he was fine. I didn't think he stood out. Like, I didn't think he was necessarily the greatest player on the field. And I was advocating for ESR to come on, and that tells you something about my thought process during that game. But I was fine with how he played. I didn't think he was necessarily bad. I thought he was industrious. I thought he was direct. It didn't really come off for him. And again, you're playing a big team in Stoke, and he's still a young and small guy. Like, that stuff's going to happen. I think it's going to take him some time. I think we probably at this point know what his level is for the season, that he's going to be, somebody off the bench, and whether it's an ESR or a Wilson down the middle, one of them will be starting instead. And I think that's okay. Like, we're betting him into a real Premier League season. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, when he was playing for the unders, they don't play as many games. They don't play as regularly. We're coming into match, what, like 30 overall if we count all the cup matches. So yeah, I don't feel too bad about it. I'm still very excited about him. I wanted him to be our superstar for this season, but it's going to take him some time. So what? Be patient.
I'll do my best. my daughter is certainly teaching me that lovely attribute.
Patience. They say it's a virtue, apparently.
Yeah, well, it's being tested sorely on a daily basis, if not hourly. But let's finish with the second goal. Again, directness. Want to come back to that because it feels topical. But Reedy, a man who I slate, I slander, I somewhat unfairly curse. Look, I love the guy. He's a trier. He works hard. He doesn't complain. He is captain material. It's just the technical ability, which he proved me wrong twice now with 2 glorious shots to win, or at least to salvage a point against Liverpool and to win us this cup match. But the pressing was good. The pressing, I think, really highlights the difference between a championship team getting caught out, just like we get caught out against superior opposition when we try and play out the back, and just you get one move wrong. I think his run is very clever. He says in his post-match interview, Reedy that is, he clocks a midfielder checking his shoulder and then running up. And tinfoil hat on, I feel like he runs directly behind the midfielder to like hide his run. He's certainly got the stature for it, right? So that's my theory. But sort of picks his pocket, wins the ball off effectively a hospital pass from the goalkeeper, and slots it away. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy that both our goals came from an instant where the person striking the ball said, screw it, let's go. Now's my time. They didn't look for the pass. They didn't say, okay, how do I angle this perfectly? I got to place it. They just said, I have half a second to shoot. I'm going to shoot. And that's what he does. You see him get the ball. You see him maybe take one touch and then launch it. Love to see it. Made me very, very happy because I get nervous with extra time. But tell me about your thoughts on that run of play. Do you want to see us press more? Do we press enough in the Premier League? Because sometimes it feels like we hold off. But let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think Reed was another one who had a standout match. And again, maybe the championship is his level, and he was able to stand out here. Although we know he has a thunder strike in his locker now, so maybe there are some additional opportunities from the league. But I thought he was industrious. I thought he was ready to go, and I thought that goal kind of encompassed everything that we've seen from Reed, where as you said, he comes out, he gets the ball, he surveys his environment, and he takes a cultured shot. I mean, he has quality, and I like him as an extra midfielder. In terms of the pressing, I would love to see us press more. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the team for that right now. I mean, when you look at the players who have left us, looking at Pereira, we don't have that kind of guy who's the focal point of the press anymore. King kind of can do that, but it's a little bit aimless at times. And I don't know if our wingers are aggressive enough to do it. And whenever we play the shield right now, I don't think we have the mids to do it either. So would I love to see us press a little bit more? Yes, but at the same time, I just don't think we have we're not equipped with the team that we have to do that today. But it shows you what happens. Like if you can turn the press on a one-off, if a team isn't expecting it, then we are able to get easy opportunities. And I will tell you, it drives me absolutely crazy when we play the ball around the back and somebody does that to us and picks one off. And it was nice to kind of see it happen the other way around this time.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a high risk move. But I get it. It's a style, right? And it's a style I can appreciate, but you need the technical ability. And you need the decision making as well. Otherwise, you will put a pass wrong, like King did. I think it was against Villa. Is that right? Back in the
Brentford.
The blind pass.
It was Brentford.
That's right, Brentford. That was a tough one to take, but that's what happens
So,
sometimes.
Mark, let me ask you this about the second half though, because that goal comes in the 86th minute, I want to say. It comes late. And we'd started making some subs, and I'm curious if you put on your Marco Silva, designer Gucci hat that he probably wears anywhere but Craven Cottage. Are you making the subs prepping for extra time, or are we like extra time and penalties, or are we really going for it at that point? Because you see the people we bring on, the ESRs, the Raúls, the Harry Wilsons. We know how prolific Raúl is from the spot. Definitely we've never seen it from Muniz. I have seen some crazy, crazy finishes from Harry Wilson at the spot. I think about the cup match where he just, finishes it off at the fifth kick. The fact that candidly, even though he's on a yellow card, Issa Diop stays on. And I mean this slightly in jest, but I mean, he's apparently a clutch penalty taker. Are we thinking about penalties at that point, or are we kind of really going for the game?
I don't think those answers need to exist in isolation, right? I think they are all good players from the spot. Actually, I haven't seen ESR take a penalty, but Diop, Wilson, and Raúl for sure. But I think they're all difference makers. They're all a bit more direct. Muniz still needs time. I am fully confident that he's going to get back up to scratch and he's going to be huge for us next season. But Raúl knows how to poach. Raúl's clever, right? And if we do get a penalty from a dodgy foul or it gets to that stage, he's going to do well. Wilson, if he even sniffs out a chance, hasn't been as prolific recently, but he had that crazy run where everyone was looking at him, and even Everton asked after him in January. But, an ESR, he's having a good season. People are a little bit off his back. He's found a little bit more form, a little bit more confidence. I think they're all smart attacking changes that put even more pressure on a tired Stoke. So I was pretty happy with those switches. But hey, we did it the Fulham way. The Fulham way is always to give the championship team a good chance, within sniffing distance of the finishing line, and then to cruelly snatch it away by a 1-goal lead. So I just love if we scored more. But anyway, we got 3 goals at the previous match. I guess that's good enough.
I will say, Mark, before we move on to the draw, there were 2 quick things I wanted to ask you about. One, you can't have me on one of these podcasts apparently and not talk about Jorge Cuenca. I really thought he was. I really thought he showed it again. I know he's gotten some stick from being a little more risky in the tackle, but candidly, I thought he was one of our most progressive players. I thought he was really, really strong out of the back. I think he actually comported himself really, really well throughout the game. And I was curious if this was something you noticed, or if, the best thing you can be as a center back is, hey, no one really recognizes that I'm there. So that was my first thing. I have a second I'll come on to in a second.
No, I'm also like you. I'm a big Cuenca fan. I've mentioned it in a previous pod, but what I really like about Cuenca, he's very vocal. I was sat on the riverside once, quite close to the front. Cess in front of him, Cuenca behind. They were defending a throw-in, but it was from the opposition half. But I heard him. I heard him talking. I heard him shouting to Cess, like, move there, covering you, whatever he was
How's his English?
communicating, right? I didn't understand it, but I knew what he intended to mean. he brought
Good enough.
Energy, okay? I understood the intent. But my point is, I like that. I like it. To me, it screams of someone that cares, someone that is trying to be a team player, trying to communicate with his teammates and make sure they're all on the same page. I really like that, and I rate it. And yes, you know, the football players do talk to each other when they're passing and they're saying when they're free or not, but like, just getting that defensive structure set up, I think he's a real gem. I hope we keep him. I can understand he was getting a little bit tetchy about not getting as much playing time. He's had more this season. But I don't know if I'd call it a hot take. I think we're just very blessed to have him and Bassi as two outstanding left center backs, but very different profiles.
I couldn't agree more. My other comment that I had to ask you about, and it's something that we don't get to really think about very often. How did it feel watching the match and just knowing that every goal wasn't necessarily going to be ruled off by VAR?
Oh, we've gone for that can of worms, huh? Okay. Well, full disclosure. Wow. Okay. This feels like something we should do over like Hot Ones. I don't know if you guys know Hot Ones, people are listening, but it's like we have increasingly like spicier wings. This one would
You're
be
asking the American if he knows about Hot Ones. Okay.
I'm asking the general listener group if they know about it. Not everything's about you, Mike. Christ. Classic
That's
America
not true
syndrome.
at all. It's either about Fulham or it's about me. There's really no third option here.
Or both.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes. Oh, bloody hell. I've forgotten the question. Because
about VAR.
VAR. Look, I want VAR to go down to the championship. Why? Because I am a stickler for the game being fair. Even if it's to our advantage, I want VAR to say, I know it ruins experience, I understand that, but I want things to be as measurably as they can to be fair. The second, more cynical reason is I think certain teams know they're playing without VAR. They know they're playing without the VAR. Hey, it's a cup match. VAR isn't here. Let's just test that high line, yeah? Because I think we can get away with it, right? Because if the lino doesn't catch it, if the lino's intimidated, because oh my god, it's a big six. Oh, I can't call Mbuemo scoring that goal. So yeah, sure, I think it was onside. I am 100% sure. We've seen the tactical fouls, you know, pulling the shirt back. We've seen the goalkeeper suddenly have arm pain when they're under pressure and, you know, the team's winning by 1 goal. I'm telling you, the managers use matches without VAR to play offside goals. So I understand why some people like it. I understand that's how it was before, but my take is I'm very pro VAR. And I think the Newcastle Aston Villa game showed that with the number of utterly bizarre Kavanaugh, famous in our ranks, but Kavanaugh decisions. Your take?
I don't know if you saw, he's actually now banned for the next weekend. Kavanaugh will not be reffing a single game, which I thought was pretty funny. I'll be honest, it was kind of nice. I didn't think there were that many VAR level fouls or things going on. I think the one that, if you wanted to argue, that the two weird calls of the game for me were the double yellow on Issa Diop and whoever from Stoke. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head.
The corner nonsense, yeah.
That was strange. I know VAR can't review that one, so I don't really care. I just thought that was strange. And then I think we had a corner, and it might have been Cuenca. It might have been Cuenca or it might have been Raul. Just gets knocked down on the corner, just randomly. And that's where you probably would have had a VAR check. Those are the only two real instances where I was like, wait a second, what? There may have been another foul here or there that I would have been like, oh, that seemed a little bit dangerous. It was kind of nice to be able to celebrate the goal. I appreciate to both sides that all the goals were definitive in nature and there wasn't anything to review. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I didn't think about it till after that I actually got to celebrate every single goal in real time.
Fair enough. I mean, I do think there was one incident where Muniz was sort of wrestled to the ground from a corner, and I know it was
that's the one I'm talking about. No, I think it was a corner.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was that one. I thought it was Cuenca, but it might have been Muniz. And he just got pulled to the ground before the corner even goes, and then we tried to put it back in, and it was very bizarre.
It was a mess, wasn't it? It was an utter mess. So the Diop thing is interesting because the Diop thing is him trying to harass the goalkeeper, which you will definitely know in the group chat. I get so frustrated by it. It's actually a question we're going to touch on later.
That we don't do it.
But we don't do it, and other teams do it to us, and we
Do it
don't
to
protect
us.
our goalkeeper. Yeah, but only Diop can do it. Anderson can't do it. Cuenca can't do it. Bassi can't do it. No one else can do it. It's only when Diop comes up onto the pitch and Silva's like, "You're my man. Your goal is to score penalties and harass the goalkeeper during quarters." Like,
you know who I want to see do it? In all seriousness, you know who I want to see do it? Is Sander Berger. Because he can't jump. He apparently can't win a contested header. But at 6'6", he's still going to block someone's vision. Have him go do it.
That's true. He just needs to stand there.
Just stand there. It's what he does all game anyway.
Savage from Mike Levy. But there you go. All right. So we won that. We threw our name back in the hat. The name that came back out, pretty happy with this. Southampton at home. Not bad. Feels winnable. Love that it's at home because this time I'm gonna actually check when I click buy ticket and not go to the Riverside and be like, my ticket that says Johnny Haynes is not scanning into the Riverside. That's deeply confusing. It's clearly wrong. You must let me in. Which I felt a little bit silly when the guy's like, "Yeah, bro, it says Johnny Haynes," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I bought Riverside." He's like, "I don't think you brought Riverside, man." It's like, "Oh, okay." So that was some humble pie there. But yeah, God. I like Southampton as a matchup, and I hope we're not eating humble pie later after that. But I think it's winnable. I think it's doable. Your thoughts?
In terms of the draws we could have gotten, I was fully prepared for Man City away. I'm not going to lie to you. That's just what I was ready for mentally.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's the easiest matchup we could have gotten, obviously. And they have, what is it, Roy Keane's son-in-law and Taylor Hardwood-Bellis in the back line, and their keeper is actually brought in from Bayern Munich, Paredes. So they have some players in there that they haven't been in the championship that long, but I think this is another team that, again, if we saw a very similar lineup to what we saw against Stoke, I wouldn't be too upset. Maybe we go a little bit more seriously, depending on who's available, with somebody like an ESR or somebody like a TC if he's available. But and definitely is Joachim Anderson, so I don't have to watch Issa again. But that's again a me thing. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think this could have been a lot worse. A home draw always is good for us, and makes me excited to think, maybe we push this a little bit further. Again, we'll see what happens as we get a little bit closer, but I'm excited.
100%, and I'm glad City got Newcastle at St. James's, which that's
I love
least
that.
One top
I love that.
opponent.
I'm not gonna lie, Mark.
Happy.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw this right before we logged on, and I'm kind of looking like, oh, is there a week that I could do 2 matches in a row? And it's actually that week because we play West Ham on the 4th, like on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, do I just take the week off work? Do I do that instead? I'd been thinking about trying to come over with Fulham DC for the Burnley match. Shout out to Fulham DC and the awesome scarf right now. But I was thinking about that, but I could actually go see 2 matches. I could go see a cup match for the first time. I'm like, oh, do I want to do that? Except I'm 0-1 when I attend matches live, so it's like, oh, which way do I want to do this? So watch this space. There may be a last minute surprise. We'll see. But no, it could have been a lot worse. I'm excited. I love the Magic of the Cup, and I realized this over the weekend. I'm not sure about y'all. I was gonna say Marco has never won us a trophy. That's not true. He's actually won a silverware already.
That's true.
Yeah.
The Algarve Cup. Is it?
No, I was gonna say the championship.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the Algarve Cup as well. So it's 2 trophies for Marco. I love to see it.
Silverware galore.
Oh yeah.
We do have just 2 questions to round us off. We'll probably keep it short and sweet on this lovely Monday. Thank you for those of you guys who are joining us live. But from FTS in our podcast questions chat, it's well, I think this was from a while back, but it's on our Discord. Join our Discord community from meeting like-minded Fulham folk who are lovely and share memes and banter. Great place. Also good during transfer window, because then we get some ideas of who we're going to be linked with and stuff. So that's always nice. But SCS asks, going back to what we were talking about earlier, what can we do to help Leno during corners? straight off the back of the Everton match, I imagine, which was, don't even get me started on
Oh,
like, yeah, and that was just bad. I was hoping for a VAR intervention, but even I would have said, is he interfering with play? Yes,
yes.
but not enough that you say it's egregious. I
I
think that's the ref's
disagree.
interpretation.
I think that
You,
was really, really bad. And
yeah,
when you say egregious, I again don't know if that actually means what he was doing or our defending of Leno, but something
yep,
there was egregious. I would have
yes,
even
it
taken a
was.
card to the set piece coach for that because how do we not defend our? I understand we want to do zonal marking, blah blah blah. I don't understand how we do that. And it actually extends further. And I haven't gotten to speak about this yet. I've listened to way too many people blame Cuenca for the Casemiro goal against United. Raul clearly loses Casemiro and he runs back post undefended because we do the zonal marking system. It is insane to me that we can't put a man on the line or, hey, we know this specific player is really good in the air. Let's man mark this specific guy. Drives me up a wall. Maybe this is the next iteration that the set piece coach, just like every one of Marco's transfers, needs a season to like get warmed up and understand the system. And then in season 2, they're freaking awesome.
Yeah,
But I would like a press conference with just the set piece coach, just to understand, like, hey, what is going through our heads here?
very
Like,
fair,
seriously,
very
what
fair.
is going on?
And you know
All
what?
right, I'll calm down.
We've seen a man on the line save us goals. I've seen Castagna block stuff off the line. I've seen Raul block stuff off the line with a header. So like it clearly works. Whether we're defending Leno, whether we have another defender on the line, it's just I really hate that I'm nervous whenever people take corners against us. It's the same feeling as when Mitro takes a pen. It's like this might be good, but it might also be really shit. So that bothers me. Now, what's interesting, going back to stats, because we love our stats, we are bang average for goals conceded from set pieces. I think we're like 10th or something in the league. So other people have mentioned in our Discord, shout out to our Discord, I won't go through the whole spiel again, but others have mentioned maybe it's because when the goals happen, they happen to lose us the game in the last 5 minutes, or they're like a real gut punch. But numbers-wise, we don't seem to be anywhere near the top of being the worst at defending set pieces, but it does feel like it, doesn't it? It does feel like these slip in quite often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's one of those things. Again, there's this wild world where we just forget for 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the end of the first half going into the second. Drives me absolutely crazy. I was actually so excited going back to the Stoke match that I really, really thought that Kevin was going to lead us into the half, and we were actually going to be the ones to score right before the half for once. But no, I can't even get that. So I was pretty interested in kind of seeing how we could approach that. But yeah, I would love to see how we do that better. And yeah, apparently I've chosen the worst time ever to do a sober month. That may end up just getting kicked out the window immediately if I decide to make this run. But yeah, I will absolutely buy the baby Guinness shots. How strong is the dollar versus the pound right now?
135, I believe. But there you
Okay,
go.
cool. So that works out well for me, I think.
It works out slightly expensive. But we'll
If
figure
if
it out.
not,
I'm
then it's
sure
the two
we'll
pound
do
pints, and
rounds.
if not, then it's the 2 pound pints to the Riverside, and we mix other stuff in.
Sounds like a plan. And we'll finish with the other question from SCS. Why is Silva seemingly unable to react to momentum shifts during games? Do all coaches struggle with this? I don't know if I can speak about all coaches. Silva certainly seems to. Um, I think he's just a stubborn manager. I think we see it with his sort of delay in putting on the subs. I think we see it in his strategy seemed to be plan A is not working, do plan A better. We love using Robbo in the wing. We will always use Robbo in the wing. Should we use the other wing? Maybe once or twice in the match, but we're just gonna use those strengths of Anthony Robinson and the pace. And I just think he's stubborn. Can he adapt? I don't know. I think maybe that's the difference. He's so good going into most matches. We seem to have figured out a weakness, and we seem really good in pockets. But I don't know if it's a stamina thing. I don't know if it's a training thing. But we don't seem to be able to either kill games off or to understand when something is switched. And that really, that's painful to watch sometimes as a Fulham fan when the other manager reacts in a clever way with a certain shape or with certain players, and then all momentum from the Fulham attack just seems to fade away. But give me your thoughts.
So maybe again, it's because I just got off a cross country flight, and all these things are going through my head. Did F1 make it out to you guys in terms of a movie? Like
Yes, it
not the
did.
Formula
I
One
have not
racing
watched
thing.
it yet.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, go
Okay,
on.
so there's this great line where he talks about we have plan A, we have plan B, and then there's plan C, and plan C is for chaos. I don't think Marco likes plan C. I don't think he likes chaos. Like the number of times that I've seen us throw like 5 strikers up there, and I think we've seen it like twice. We never really do that. And I feel like, Mark, exactly what you said. Plan A is plan A. Plan B is do plan A better. And I would have really liked to see us do. I would have really liked us to see us have that chaos agent. And I think we're we're going we're thinking about this a little bit more, and maybe I'm also thinking about kind of some of the transfer options that are going to be out there as we kind of discuss this window and going into the next window. It seems like we have more options than ever to bring off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who really is on the bench for the last match if TC is healthy? Because we already weren't playing Chukwueze. Like he didn't even make the bench, and I think we're getting a little bit spoiled for choice in attacking options. And I think that's part of it, is the fact that he's learning to use the options that he has. I also think it has to do with what's happening in the midfield. Like again, we don't have another option for the midfield. I was thinking about this during the match yesterday. With 5 minutes left in the match, the one thing I didn't want us to do was to bring on Sanderberger, because what's Sanderberger going to do if we're tied? And luckily, we were winning, and I still don't know what he does when we're winning. He is a passenger princess. But that being said, we don't have, and I know everybody here is probably tired of listening to me, as the kids would say, glaze TC, but we don't have a guy like that who picks out a pass, who opens up a game, who offers us something different. And I think part of Marco's struggle in here is he's brought in players to fit a system. He's brought in players specifically who fit in that role and have a backup in case they get hurt as well, but not players who necessarily offer something different. And I think we're finally seeing a little bit of difference coming in when you look at the types of wingers, and bringing in a Kevin or a Chukwueze is different than what we had before. When you look at who we are targeting up top, whether or not Pepe comes in, he is a totally different striker than somebody like a Muniz or a Raul. Kusei Asari, again, he's 19, but he's a different kind of player. I just don't think we have the players for a plan B right now. I mean, when was the last time you've seen Rodrigo play at all well with a second striker? We just don't have that kind of striker. So I think it's partially also just the types of players we have to bring off the bench. What we're doing is we're bringing on fresh legs. We're not bringing on fresh ideas, with the exception of TC.
Yeah, very true. I never really thought about it that way, but that's a great point. We seem to have just built. I mean, calling them carbon copies is like doing them all a big disservice. But yes, we are very, very heavily reliant on wing play and using the flanks and using that width and trying to whip in a ball and see what we can do from there. I think we need, a midfielder. We've been crying out for a midfielder, not just to help us win control of the midfield and help out defensively as well and give us a bit more solidity at the back, but to be a threat. My God, if we got McTominay, what a difference he could have made. But yeah,
I'm just
speaking of
saying,
Silva,
what is it? Doesn't Lukic have the second most goals in our midfield this year?
if true, that's horrifying. I don't even know. Does he
I'm
have one
pretty
goal?
sure ESR is one. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
ESR is one. Lukic has two, and Kearney is one.
I would have
Nothing
thought
from
ESR
Berger
would have
yet.
more than that. Yeah.
No, ESR is definitely number one, and I just don't know how many goals he has this
Oh,
season.
sorry.
Um,
First, yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
yeah, no. He's our number one. I think he has like 4 this season, maybe 3. But I think Lukic has. I'm pretty sure Lukic has 2, and Kearney has 1. And yeah, he has 3 this season. That's really a problem. Like, how do we have nobody who can pop a shot? And again, when we do it, it actually comes off to something. We just don't do it very often.
Yeah, very true. And we need a bit of chaos, right? Shot from outside the box, it might go in. It might deflect off someone and go in. It might be fumbled, and then you have Raul or Muniz or whoever else clean up, poach one. We should. I don't mind adding a bit of calculated risk in how we attack. We don't need to play Man City, Pep Ball, or Teta Ball the whole time. But let's finish with this. Let's finish with
Well, we had
a
hold
man
on.
who's
We had Plan C. We had Plan C. It was Adama, and now we have Plan C 2.0. And I think that's going to be Kevin. I genuinely do think Kevin is a bit of a chaos agent, and it's sometimes going to be great, like we saw with Leeds, like we saw yesterday against Stoke, and sometimes it's going to be freaking awful and anonymous. And I caution everybody, just take that with a grain of salt. Just because we're trying something different, just because we have somebody who's trying something, I don't hate it. I really don't. Sorry, Mark. Didn't mean
That's
to
true.
interrupt you there.
That's
I'll
very
get off
true.
my
No
soapbox.
problem at all. Always appreciate your exuberance. But let's finish with this. The managerial roundabout continues, and we're trying to tie Marco down to a new contract. But Thomas Frank, that experiment has exploded. Who knew from going all out attack to all out defense would would upset a top six fan base and not lead to results? How bizarre. Perhaps equally bizarre, less bizarre, not sure. Sean Dyche's time is done. Something that I found kind of funny is he's actually done all right. Points per game, at least through his tenure, all the clubs he's looked after, Forrester at the top with 1.4 points per game under the Dyche tenure. Now, he has a lot of tools at his disposal, but he's clearly upset the big man who owns Forest. Are we worried? Are we worried about those positions? Are we worried about other positions that might open up? I think Carrick's pretty much got the United job sewn up, but where can we possibly see Marco's head being turned? Or do you reckon he's just going to wait it out and see what his options are and hopefully sign with us if nothing turns his head?
So I'm absolutely terrified. I started sweating during your monologue there, Mark, and I'm going to have to change shirts after this. So thank you for that. Full transparency, the risk that I see out there is the one that I don't think anyone's been talking about. And Marco apparently said that he wasn't really interested in a lateral move to somebody like a Nottingham Forest or anything like that. And I fully get that one. The one that
Yeah.
scares me more than any other is Newcastle. They have not been as good this year as they thought they would be. Howe has been a bit pedestrian with his attacking tactics. They clearly want to spend money. They are in the Champions League right now. That's the one that really makes me nervous. No one's talking about it. And you look at a team like Newcastle that if they want to kick on and use a more progressive manager, that sounds like Marco to a T. Plus, they're a bit more of a historic club. And yes, I know that Nottingham Forest won the European Championship in 1492 when Columbus was sailing the ocean blue. But like, that's not real. Like that's not history that Marco is going to care about. He's going to care about, the big nights under the lights. And I think Newcastle offers that in a way that actually scares me. I think Tottenham is talking about Pochettino, which I've watched the USMNT this year has not been great. So I'm not too concerned about that one. They've talked about someone else that I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm not super concerned about him going to a Palace or anything like that. That doesn't really bother me. Yeah, Forest maybe, but who knows how that ended. But Newcastle really, really does worry me.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, to be honest. Not to say he couldn't do it at a top six. Probably top four is a bit of a step too far, but a Tottenham maybe. But I think you're right. A Newcastle, a Villa. Villa will never get rid of Emery in their current form, and they seem to be doing well.
No.
But sort of a top 8 club. Let's be frank. A bigger club. A bigger club in fan base. A bigger club in the players they can bring in. And one that would probably be quite supportive and excited to see an attacking manager. I think you're absolutely right. And Eddie Howe, they might just want to mix it up, right? He's done well for them, but they want to kick on. They're definitely not happy where they are on the league table right now. So there you go. But very well said. And I hope they don't go for him. I hope they find some shiny new manager on the Iberian Peninsula that they have a lot of faith in, and that it goes horribly wrong. So there you go.
I just, you know what? I'm really curious, and maybe we ended on this, Mark. Do we get like? I'm curious. Like, does Pepe signing a contract mean that Marco signs his contract? That means Wilson signs his contract. That means everything else just kind of falls into place. Or what else is Marco looking for? Is he looking for how we finish the season? If I was speculating, if we win the FA Cup, what more does Marco have to prove with us? I'm just curious on your thoughts here.
I think he'll always look for the big job. I don't want to say it's too little, too late. I think he'll go for the big job regardless, right? If we just transpose what Marco's feeling onto
I mean, he did it
ourselves.
last year, and he had a contract
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think you. What I think we have been going about it wrong though. I do think the players would have helped him stay longer. I heard that the contract we offer him puts him in the top 6 earners in the Premier League, but he's not about that. If he was about that, he would have gone to Saudi and being the top earner, period, compared to the Premier League. But yeah, I hope he stays. I'm not sure.
I don't know if I fully agree with that, by the way. I don't think Marco's head would be turned for just money, but he wants the recognition of his accomplishment in the Premier League. And I do think that could actually be accomplished by making him a top 4 earning manager in the Premier League. In the Premier League specifically. Like I don't think he goes to Saudi and lives like a king over there. But if you tell me that, hey, he's going to be the highest earning manager behind behind a Pep, behind an Arteta, behind I was going to say Liam Rossinha, but it's definitely not Liam Rossinha. I don't know who the third highest would be. If you're going to tell me he's the 4th highest paid manager in the league, I would tell you he's worth it. And it's not particularly close, especially with our path for replacement. I just don't see it, even with the roller coaster that's going on right now. So I think it's whether it's a written guarantee of how much money we're going to spend with him. I don't know what it is, but it's just something that has made me think about what are the things that trigger Marco to sign a new contract at this point. And by the way, it's going to come on a random day. Like it's going to come on like a Thursday after it's going to come on Thursday after the cup draw. Like that's where it's coming. Like some kind of weird, timing.
I feel like the Khans are going to use it in their back pocket after like a particularly like horrific loss where we get spanked 6-0 down.
Right.
Like, oh crap, the fan base is upset. Marco signs. Like, quick, paper it over.
And we have a parade in the streets.
Yeah, there you go. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. A bit of a random time on a Monday, but we wanted to get this out quick, and we got our top fan, our top transatlantic fan, to join us, sharing his wisdom. Mike, thanks so much for joining, and I really hope we get you over here for the Baby Guinnesses. It's been great.
Oh, I'm making the plans. I'm making the plans. I just have to figure out which one actually works. But I will be more than happy to shell out whatever it costs on the Baby Guinness is for me to see a win live. So let's get it done.
Absolutely. And then we can stick it to Scott Parker and his merry band of rebels. So I will leave it at that with a UI.